Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks with Hachiman. Today I want to do the garage review of the M46 Patton. Now, World of Tanks just started their on track event to the M48, and I used this opportunity to grind off the last few XP on my Pershing to get this Tier 9 American medium tank. Now, this guy, historically speaking, the M46 Patton was basically the same tank as the M M26 Pershing, just upgraded, modernized for the Korean War. Uh, and it's interesting because the M46 plays just like a Pershing, but better. So I think Wargaming did a great job translating this. Now, I am not fully upgraded on this tank. I do not have the turret yet, which gets you a little more view range. Same armor, essentially. Um, Slightly better traverse, and more importantly, an extra 100 hit points. However, the traverse on the stock turret is very good at 38 degrees. You will never feel like your turret can't turn quickly enough. I do not have the engine. Now, the engine I've got is the middle engine, which is the top engine on the Pershing. Now, what you need to know about this engine is that your top speed on this tank is the same, regardless of whether you have the Tier 8 or the Tier 9 engine. What the Tier 9 engine does is increases your specific power from 16 point something horsepower per ton up to 19 point something. It's about a 20% increase in power. Your top speed does not change. But in those situations where you need to get from a dead halt to top speed more quickly, you're going to have better acceleration. You'll have better acceleration on rough or soft terrain. And you will see that my acceleration in some of my gameplay review videos I'll be doing over the next couple days, you'll see that the acceleration can be a little sluggish without this upgraded engine. The radio you should have had for a long time. The track, this is very important. When you come into this tank, you absolutely must have enough free XP to unlock this Tier 9 track right here. You have to. Because if you don't, you will be limited to this Tier 7 90mm gun, the M3, which is a great gun on the T20 medium tank at Tier 7. But on the Tier 9 Patton, it's virtually useless. So, I came into this tank with all 23,000 XP necessary to research this, which allowed me to mount the Tier 8 gun from the Pershing, which is substantially better. However, the limitations you're going to have here is that 180 penetration is fine for Tier 7 and 8 tanks, even Tier 9s to some extent. But when you're shooting at an E75 or, heaven forbid, a Tier 10 E100, that 180 millimeters of penetration just simply is not going through. You will find yourself firing a lot of the premium ammunition, the HVAP ammo, to get penetrations against high tier tanks. It just is what it is. Now, the other problem with this guy is that this Pershing gun only does 240 damage, and you will find, simply put, that you can't do enough damage quickly enough quite often to have a substantial impact on the game. You have to research this tank with enough free XP to put on this track, which allows you to put on the middle engine, the better radio, and the Tier 8 gun, and then you have to grind to get this Tier 9 gun as quickly as possible. It is like night and day. The penetration on regular rounds goes from 180 to 218. The pen on premium actually drops by 3, but your pen on HE goes up by 10. More importantly, your damage on regular ammunition goes from 240 to 390, a 62.5% increase in the alpha damage, and the DPM goes up about 40%. So even with a slightly lower rate of fire, it's such a huge increase in damage. I'm going to show several replay videos on this tank, and you will see that I, generally speaking, have a hard time doing more than 2,000 damage. In fact, I think 2,500 was the most I could do with this 90mm gun. I've only played 3 games with the 105. I have not done less than 3,000 damage in any of them. No, I take that back. I've played 4 games. 3 games I did over 3,000 damage. In the fourth game, I only did 1,400, but I had 3,000 assist damage, so I'll take it. Alright, back to the tank. The armor ratings on this guy: 101 millimeters frontal hull and turret, 76 millimeters side hull and turret, 76 millimeters on the rear turret, 50 on the rear hull. The upgraded turret does have 91 millimeters on the rear. Okay. Simply put, just like the Pershing, the Super Pershing, the T-20, any of the American heavies for that matter, do not get hit on the side or the rear. It will penetrate. It is that simple. There is not hardly a tank you're going to fight that won't penetrate your side or rear in these tanks. In my Super Pershing, which has very similar armor characteristics, I've actually been penetrated in the rear by a Leopard using a flak gun. So don't let them get behind you or to your flank. Don't do it. Now your front, 101 millimeters of armor is not impressive at all. However, what you need to look at is look at the slope on this hull. Okay, the upper plate is very well sloped, all things considered, and the lower plate has an equally good slope on it. Lower plate will be penetrated. It is a little thinner than 101. It will be penetrated by almost anything. Upper plate will generally get penetrated by these tier 8, 9, 10 tanks you fight. You will pull off a bounce on occasion. Turret at 101, well, of course you got this beast here, this American gun mantlet. We all know what shooting through that is like. It is very, very difficult, except with a high caliber gun. So that 101 millimeters of armor really applies to the cheeks, the top, which is a very small target, and is of course, sorry, my interface in the way slightly, and of course is sloped backward very, very well. Weak spots, the hatch on top as usual. This plate right here, the turret ring, all standard weak spots on American tanks. As far as the lower plate is concerned, as well as this right here, this tank shares an excellent advantage with the Pershing, and that is 10 degrees of gun depression, which is excellent. You'll see in some of my videos I can sit virtually on the back side of a hill and shoot down the other side, which allows me to angle this even more backwards while simultaneously hiding the lower plate and the hatch on top. You are at your weakest in this tank when you're on flat, level ground, facing an enemy on flat, level ground. Of course, its biggest advantage is maneuverability. 48 kph is not fantastic, but it's better than, say, the Centurion at tier 9. Not quite as good as a T-54. Of course, it has better armor than T-54, not quite as good as the Centurion. And your traverse speed is 38 degrees per second, which is pretty good. Combined with the stock turret, you get 76 degrees of traverse per second. So you can, turning in the same direction, you can rotate your whole turret around in about 5 seconds, which is pretty good. I run a tank gun rammer and vents and the ever important vertical stabilizer. I don't run a gun laying drive, and the reason for it is these two guns, the 90 mil from the Pershing and the 105, have a 2.3 second aim time, which is as good as anything out there. They aim fast. You're not going to pick that much up with a gun laying drive. Go with the vents and the vertical stabilizer to help you shoot on the move. That about sums this up. I'm going to have 3 or 4 replay videos to show how this tank can be used in action to give you guys some good idea. I hope you enjoyed this and you found it useful. Please subscribe and like the video down below. It would really help me out, and I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.